The old mansion stood on a hill, shrouded in mist. Sarah, captivated by its dilapidated grandeur, bought it. Blackwood Manor, they called it, a name whispered with reverence and fear. The locals knew its secrets. They warned Sarah. She didn't listen. The house called to her, its isolation, a comfort. The house was a labyrinth, dark, twisting corridors. Shadows danced in the flickering candlelight. Sarah felt a presence, watching, waiting. The whispers started subtly, like the rustling of leaves, easy to dismiss. Sarah felt a chill. The house was cold, colder than a house should be. She explored the grounds, overgrown and neglected. A sense of dread clung to her. Something wasn't right. Sarah felt it in her bones. The whispers grew louder. They seemed to come from the walls themselves. Sarah was alone, or so she thought. Days turned into nights, each one colder than the last. The whispers followed Sarah everywhere she went. They taunted her, mocked her. Sarah couldn't escape them. She tried to ignore them, to rationalize them. But the whispers persisted. They grew louder, more insistent. Sleep offered no escape. The whispers followed her into her dreams, twisted nightmares, faces in the darkness. Sarah would wake up in a cold sweat, her heart pounding. The whispers were there, waiting. She was losing her mind. She had to find the source of the whispers. Sarah wandered the halls at night, drawn by an unseen force. The whispers led her deeper into the house. She discovered a hidden door. Concealed behind a tapestry, the whispers were strongest here. Sarah felt a cold draft. The air was thick with the smell of decay. The door was old, made of heavy oak. A rusty padlock held it shut. Sarah tried to force it open. It wouldn't budge. She needed to get inside. She had to know what was behind that door, what secrets the house held. The whispers beckoned her, lured her closer. Sarah searched the house. She had to find the key. She scoured every room, every nook and cranny. Days turned into weeks. The key remained elusive. The whispers grew stronger, more insistent. Sarah started talking back, asking questions. The whispers only laughed at her. She couldn't let the whispers win. She wouldn't let them break her. Sarah was determined. She would uncover the truth, no matter the cost. The house held its breath, waiting, watching. Sarah felt it. The presence was growing stronger. Sarah decided to break the lock. She couldn't wait any longer. She found a heavy hammer in the shed, rusted and old, like the house itself. Sarah hesitated. A shiver ran down her spine. She was crossing a line. There was no turning back. She took a deep breath and swung the hammer. The lock shattered. The door creaked open. A blast of cold air hit Sarah. The smell was overpowering, musty and rancid, like death itself. The whispers were deafening, urgent, pleading. Sarah stepped inside. The room was pitch black. Sarah fumbled for a light switch. Nothing. She felt along the wall. Her fingers brushed against something cold and wet. Sarah recoiled in horror. What was this place? The whispers grew louder, urging her forward. Section 5. Unlocking the Secrets. Sarah found a lantern. She lit it, her hand shaking. The flame flickered to life, casting grotesque shadows on the walls. The room was small and bare, except for a single chair and a table. On the table lay a book bound in leather, its pages yellowed with age. A chill ran down Sarah's spine. The room felt heavy, oppressive. She picked up the book. It was surprisingly light, as if empty. But when she opened it, the pages were filled with writing. Elegant cursive, faded with time. The whispers seemed to emanate from the book itself. Sarah began to read. The words were strange, disturbing. They spoke of a darkness that consumed the house, of a family torn apart by secrets, and of a presence that lingered long after death, the presence that Sarah felt now, watching her, waiting. Section 6. A Room of Whispers. Sarah slammed the book shut. She couldn't read any more. It was too disturbing. The whispers intensified, mocking her fear, taunting her curiosity. She had to find out more. She had to know the truth, no matter how terrifying it might be. She noticed a loose floorboard and pried it open with her fingers. The whispers reached a fever pitch, urging her on. Below the floorboard, Sarah found a small wooden box. It was locked, but the wood was rotten. It crumbled in her hands. Inside the box, a single key lay nestled on a bed of faded velvet. Sarah's heart pounded. This had to be the key to the locked door, the key to the house's secrets. She clutched it tightly and made her way back upstairs. Section 7. The horrifying discovery. The locked door loomed before her, menacing, forbidden. Sarah hesitated, fear gnawed at her, but she had come too far to turn back now. She slid the key into the lock. It turned with a heavy thud. The door creaked open, revealing a staircase leading down into darkness. The whispers were deafening now, a chorus of voices beckoning her, luring her into the abyss. Sarah took a deep breath and descended, each step sending shivers down her spine. The air grew colder and the smell of decay intensified. The staircase opened into a large, cavernous room. The walls were covered in something dark and matted. Sarah gasped in horror. It was hair, human hair, hundreds, thousands of strands woven together in a macabre tapestry. The whispers surrounded her, closing in. Section 8. The Night of Apparitions. Sarah stumbled back, her heart pounding in her chest. She wanted to scream, but no sound came out. She was paralyzed with fear. The whispers grew louder, swirling around her like a vortex, and then she saw them. Figures, emerging from the shadows. They were tall and gaunt. Their eyes glowed with an eerie light. Their skin was pale and translucent, their hair long and stringy. They reached out to her, their fingers cold and skeletal. Their voices echoed through the room, whispering her name. Sarah tried to run, but her legs wouldn't move. She was trapped. The figures surrounded her, their cold breath on her skin. Their whispers filled her head, driving her to the brink of madness. She screamed and screamed, but her voice was lost in the cacophony. Section 9. The search for Sarah. Days turned into nights. Sarah was gone, vanished without a trace. The locals searched, but they found nothing. The house stood silent, menacing. It had claimed another victim. Some whispered of ancient curses, others of restless spirits. The police investigated. They found no signs of foul play, no forced entry, no struggle. It was as if Sarah had simply disappeared into thin air. The case went cold. Another unsolved mystery. Another life claimed by Blackwood Manor. But the whispers remained, fainter now, but still there. A constant reminder of the house's dark secret. A secret that Sarah had taken to her grave. Section 10. A ghostly presence. Weeks later, a group of teenagers dared each other to spend the night in the abandoned mansion. They had heard the stories, the legends, but they didn't believe them. They thought it was all just a bunch of spooky tales. They broke in through a basement window. The air inside was thick with dust and decay. The silence was unnerving, broken only by the sound of their own breathing. They explored the house, their laughter echoing through the empty halls. As they made their way upstairs, they heard it. A whisper, faint at first, then louder. It seemed to be coming from the end of the hallway. They cautiously approached, their hearts pounding in their chests. Section 11. The Unsettled Whispers. They reached the door to the room where Sarah had last been seen. The door was slightly ajar. They could hear the whispers coming from inside, louder now, more insistent. The teenagers exchanged nervous glances. Curiosity battled with fear. One of them slowly pushed the door open. The room was dark, but as their eyes adjusted, they saw her. Sarah, sitting in the chair, her eyes wide and vacant, her hair long and matted. She was mumbling to herself, whispering. The teenagers screamed and ran. They didn't stop running until they reached the safety of the town. They told their story, but no one believed them. They were just kids, trying to scare each other. But the teenagers knew what they had seen. They had heard the whispers, and they knew that Blackwood Manor would never truly be at peace.